Okay, so today we're going to talk about a form of self care that most people don't inherently relate to self care. We're going to talk about budgeting as self care. And here's why. When you feel like you have control of your money and you feel like you are moving financially towards that place of stability and freedom financially, then you feel more comfortable, you feel more grounded, and you feel less like you have to bulldoze yourself to work harder and harder because you know that not only can you pay your bills, you have an emergency fund, you've got a backup plan, and you can live and do the things that you want to do. You don't have to be in a cycle of sacrifice. And so, budgeting, believe it or not, is an amazing way to help you do this. Now, here's the thing that you might think about budgeting. You probably think budgeting is restrictive. I gotta sacrifice, I gotta sacrifice the things that I love, like getting my nails done and things. It's going to keep me from doing it's gonna make me say no to all of these things that I really want, when actually that's a myth, straight up myth. Instead, budgeting is going to help you not only be able to pay for the things that you want, it's going to help you still make space to save, to accomplish your dreams, do future things. And your future self is going to thank your today self if you do this well. And I can tell you that from my own experience. So, why should you listen to me? Because I've done it wrong. I've had a life where I didn't budget and I had student loans, I had some credit card loans, and I wasn't financially, even though I was making great money. I remember at one point, I showed my mom did my tax return and she was like, "Gosh, you make like 20,000 more dollars than me." And I was young, like I couldn't believe that. That was also when I stopped asking my mom for money. But that being said, I was like, "Well, how come I'm still living paycheck to paycheck if I'm making so much more?" And I didn't have kids like my mom did. Like, there's no reason why I should have been better off. And it really took me getting this book called The Total Money Makeover in order for me to get my act together. But the main thing that really changed everything, the number one tool, the only thing that made a difference, really the only thing that made a difference from me being in debt to being out of debt and being able to travel the world on a little bit amount of money, and being able to live, like literally live a life that other people are like, how the hell do you do that? I know you're not rich. This is how I do it. Budgeting is exactly how I do it. Okay, because of using a budget, I was able to pay off $69,605 in debt in 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, that is a lot of money to pay off in 2.5 years. If you want, I will put the link to my debt-free screen where I went on Dave Ramsey's his radio show and I did my screen. This is proof. I've done this before. So this is not just anybody telling you this. Okay, but how does budgeting become self-care? Here's how. When you allow your budget to clarify where your priorities are financially, you don't get stretched thin as easily. That means that you can put your money where you want it to be rather than feeling like you end up that there's more month than money. Here's the other part of that. Right now, if you're thinking, most people come into thinking about money in a scarcity mindset where that restriction, I can't do what I want. You feel guilty for spending money. You feel guilty that if you have a budget, you don't want to put all of those other little things that you want to do because you feel like they shouldn't be in your budget. Your budget should not create guilt. It should not create scarcity. It should create freedom and it should create abundance. Again, if you are doing it right. It's a way to protect your peace, to set boundaries financially and relationally, and it'll help you make intentional choices about where you want your life to go and to get there faster. It's going to help you do literally all these things. Okay. All right. So I want to do a shout out to Nisha. She has an amazing video called Let me look at it. It says accountant explains money habits that keep you poor. Money habits that keep you poor. And that's where I got this title for today. Money habits that are keeping you burnt out. I really love her video because she makes it really clear of what it looks like to budget through this lens of scarcity. If and so you really want to make sure you take a second to watch that video. I'll make sure I link that to the cards up in this top right corner as well. Um, a scarcity money flat out makes you poor because that scarcity brings up all these negative emotions that you feel when it's time to sit down and do your budget. And because you're feeling those things, then you end up not wanting to sit down and do the budget. And I want you to get out of that. I want you to stop those money habits that are keeping you burnt out. And I want to see you make the shift so that you can go from being out to actually being rested to being your fullest self because your finances are in a healthy place, which allows you to be in a healthy place. So today, let's talk about how to view budgeting through the lens of abundance rather than through this lens of scarcity. And it's going to be a self care practice that you literally should do, a self care practice that you need to do every single month. Okay, so let's look at the list of scarcity. If you are thinking about a budget in a way that you're making a budget optional, that's living in scarcity. Instead, you want to think about your budget as it being the first thing that you do because you should pay yourself first before you pay your bills. Yep, before you pay your bills, that means that you're actually doing the things, you're prioritizing your money in a way that allows you to do the things that you have for your future self to do. And you tend to do better at figuring out how to find that money when you use a budget rather than trying to figure it out on the back end. This is setting you up to be proactive about the life that you're building rather than hoping that it comes by accident or that it falls into your lap. Okay. So, scarcity way of thinking about money number two is that you're carrying a balance on your credit cards. Now, depending on who you talk to about credit cards, some are going to tell you absolutely not to use them. Some are going to tell you you definitely should use them. I'm going to tell you I'm in between. When you still have debt and you're trying to get out of scarcity mindset, I'm going to say go without the credit cards. You want to get to a place where you've been using a budget and using it well and have good discipline with it first before you get into using a credit card again. So I want you to start by paying off debt. Pay off that debt, feel the freedom of not having it on your shoulders anymore. And then once you do that, then I want you to leverage credit cards through adulting so that you can get your extra bonus points and things so that you could pay for trips for free. But when you do that, you're not carrying a balance. Let me say that again. When you do come back around to using credit cards, you are not carrying a balance. You're just using it to get the bonus points to pay for your trips and escapades and adventures. Okay. All right. Okay. Way number three, that you are living in a scarcity mindset with your money is that you are using your credit cards as a safety net. So a lot of people get credit cards and say, "Oh, well, I'll use this credit card if my cash flow is a little off." Don't do that. That means you're not budgeting. That means you're leaving your money up to chance. That means you don't have a plan for your money. And when you don't have a plan for your money, it is disappearing. It is literally disappearing. You don't even know how you're using it. You're not using your money with intentionality, and your budget will help you change that. So instead of that scarcity mindset where you're using your credit card as a safety net, instead, I want you to have an emergency fund. And again, Dave will tell you about this. Tiffany Alashay will tell you about this. You want an emergency fund that's going to be the amount of 3 to 6 months of your spending, so that if for some reason you get hurt and you don't have Aflac, or you need to take a sabbatical, or whatever it is, you have enough funds for you to live comfortably for 3 to 6 months while you're getting yourself back on your feet. Okay. So stop using credit cards as your security net and start using your emergency fund. All right. So way number four, that you're letting your finances burn you out. You're settling for instant gratification rather than like holding on for the long game. So What I mean by that is a lot of us use our credit card and say, well, I'm never going to be able to save up to the money to get that thing that I want. So I'd rather just buy it on my credit card and pay the interest for it because at least I'm only paying payments. Well, the hard part about that is if you're paying payments, you're probably paying double the amount that you would have paid if you saved up the money to be able to buy the thing with cash, or at least to be able to pay off the balance immediately. Remember, not carrying a balance. That's why we have to change this, because if you bought something for $80 and by the time you pay it off with all the interest, you ended up paying $160. You just wasted $80, all because you were settling for living in the moment rather than having your eye on the long game. Okay. So here's what that looks like. I want you to go for the long wins. And you're like, well, I don't really know what the long wins are until I'm in the midst of it. That's why in my program, Meant for More, I help you create a long term vision so you could know, what are you saving your money for? What am I creating this financial wellness for? What is the lifestyle freedom that I'm building? And I need the money to help fund that. For more, that program is going to help you get really clear on the things that you want for life that are beyond just money. And it'll help you see how money is important as the tool to help you get it, and it'll simplify how you use money and how you set yourself up to organize your money so that you can get to that. The number 6 money habit that's keeping you burnt out, you're splurging to keep up with with the Joneses. Hmm. Now, we've been talking about self-care, and I know that a lot of people relate self-care to luxury. They relate it to getting their nails done, taking luxurious trips, buying expensive flights. But if those things, again, if you're putting it on credit card, you're probably paying double for it. And number two, if those things are not helping you build a financially secure future, then we need to be a little bit more creative in how we still get you that lifestyle, but without it making you sacrifice the future that you're building. Um, we don't want to be putting ourselves in a cycle of digging ourselves in a hole to have to climb back out. So the way that you want to move from this cycle of burnout and setting yourself up for burnout into the cycle of self-care, your budgeting and self-care, is that I want you to think past self-care is just this luxury mindset. Remember, budgeting is self-care. Some of the other things that we're talking about are self-care as well. So take self-care out of this idea that you have to pay tons of money for you to have it, because self-care should not have a price tag on it. Everybody deserves self-care. And this is what it looks like to start creating a rounded self-care practice that accounts for all of the different parts of your life. Okay. Now here's the number 7 way that your money habits are keeping you burned out. You have been relying on savings alone. So, as we start to build wealth, a lot of us think, well, I'm saving money, right? That should be enough. Well, savings, with the interest rate that's happening on savings these days, it's not enough to keep up with the inflation rate. And so while you're saving, and that's a great thing, but once you have your emergency fund, your 3 to 6 month emergency fund, you really want to be putting that money into investments, because once that money is invested, it is given the power to accrue, to compound, for you to make money off of the money that you've already put in there. So saving alone, you're never going to be able to keep up with the inflation rate if you're not actually putting it into an investment where it can make money off of that money. So here's the shift. You want to go from that cycle of burnout where you're only using savings to be able, because you, as a way to build wealth, and you actually don't want to transition where you are saving and you're also doing investments. You're probably also finding different ways to make more money to even add to your investments as well. So the goal is that you have a rounded financial plan, a rounded financial strategy, rather than just using savings. Now, I'm not going to be the person that's going to help you to do all of those things, but I am going to help you figure out your budget. So make sure you stay to the end to learn how to do that. So here's the number 8 way that your money habits are keeping you burned out. You are allowing lifestyle inflation to keep you spending more and more and more. So what is lifestyle inflation? That means that when you make more money, because everybody says, oh, I need more money. I just need more money. But the thing is, if you are getting more money just so you could buy more stuff, then you didn't really need more money. You needed to figure out how to be content with what you had. If that's not a word. But here's what that looks like. If you get a promotion at work and that bumps you from here to here, but then you start spending more too, well, now you're at the same ratio that you were before. You're not actually getting the lifestyle freedom. You're not getting the financial stability that you want. Because if you were paycheck to paycheck before, and when you increase that same ratio, then you're still behind. You're still behind. So the way that you want to counteract that is learning how to live within your means. And I know you've heard that a lot of times, and you're like, well, what does that even mean? That means that you use a budget to plan your money beforehand so that you're making intentional and conscious decisions about your budget rather than going with the flow, because going with the flow is going to take you somewhere that you don't want to go financially. So make sure you're being intentional with your money. And the way you're intentional with your money is by creating a budget. So you're probably like, well, I don't know. I don't know how to create a budget. I don't know where to get started. Okay, so here's how I want you to jumpstart your budget. For one, number one, I want you to take everything that you have in that you've spent. So I want you to go into all of your bank accounts, your credit card accounts, any account where you spend money. I want you to get the statement and I want you to categorize them. There's a great tool called Copilot that will help you do that. And I will put the link in the description to help you do that. Bring all of your statements into one place and start categorizing them, and that's going to help you see how much you're spending in each area. Then once you see exactly how much you're spending in each of those areas, then you're able to break it down to, hey, this is exactly um this is exactly how much I'm spending, and I don't like that. I'm spending too much here. I can pull from here, from here, from here, and I can start using that to intentionally save more. Then once you do that, you start using that baseline, that setup every single month to create your how your budget should be going forward. And then once you have that, you can also switch things around. There are things that are always going to be the same in your budget, but then you can also account for different things in your budget as well. Your budget is a tool to be intentional. It's not a tool of scarcity. Use it to help you fund all the different dreams that you have planned. Listen, there's plenty of videos out there, and there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different thought processes behind doing that. And I know that that part can be frustrating. So, as I said before, there are a couple different resources that can help you. There is Tiffany Alashay, Budgetnista. There's Dave Ramsey. They'll teach you over at Financial Peace. And then I'm also going to be starting a group to give you not only a budget template, but also it's going to be a community where every month we come together and we create our budgets together, because this is how you become intentional with your money. And you can do it in a community setting where you're learning from other people's experiences, you're celebrating your wins, and you're seeing just how far the money that you have today, not even making more money, how the money you're making today will take you really far. So how does budgeting become a self-care practice? It becomes a self-care practice because it is an activity that you need to do every single month. Doing a budget is not something that's a set it and forget it activity. This is something that you need to be looking at your finances. You're going to know, here are my baseline things that I need to do every month. And then you're going to know there's somebody's birthday this month. So you need to put money aside to go buy them a gift or go to their party. Or there's you need to take a trip in this month. So you're doing a sinking fund to be able to pay for that. Or there's a lot of different other parts that come in and out of your budget, but you need to be looking at that on a monthly basis to be able to plan ahead for those things, to be intentional about those things, to make sure that your baseline bills are paid, and that the other things that you want to do in your life, from saving to moving abroad to buying a tiny house, whatever those things are, that you have a plan in your finances to be able to help you manage and accomplish those things. Because when you make a budget a monthly practice, it becomes an empowerment tool. It becomes something that strengthens you. It's really, I tell you, every time I do it, I feel like I need to be in my superwoman pose, because I feel like I have everything under control. And that's a really grounded and a really nice feeling. The beautiful thing about this too is when you use a budget, all the dreams that you want to happen, and you're always like, I don't, how do I have, how am I ever going to get the money to do this? Your dream should not be inhibited by your money, but your budget is going to empower you to accomplish those dreams. So if you put all of that together, what that means is you can dream literally anything you want. And with a budget, you actually will be able to accomplish it. Listen, listen. This is the trick of the trade that they've been telling you. I'm trying to let you know. I'm trying to spill the tea. This is what you need to do. So, if you want to know more about the community that I'm creating, that's going to help us create our budget and maintain it and really grow financial stability, then you need to be on my email list. So, the link to get on my email list, you're going to go to bio.yourdreamstrategist.com. All the way at the bottom, it's going to say join, subscribe to my email list. Get on that email list. And you here's the thing. In order to get the special pricing that I'm going to have for this community, you need to be on my email list by this Saturday when the 7-day self-care reset is over. So make sure you take a second and go and get on that list now. If you've got to this video after that, I'm sorry. Send me an email and I'll tell you what I have available at the moment. But for everybody else that's watching this video immediately, go right now to bio.yourdreamstrategist.com. The link is in the description and get on my email list so that on Saturday when I send out the special discounted pricing for joining this community, that you'll be ready to get there and you'll be able to learn a practice of how to use budgeting as self-care, because it has been literally one of the best things that has ever happened to my life. That being said, if if I hadn't started budgeting, my life used to feel like I was treading water. It felt like no matter what I did, there was never enough money. I could never get far enough. I felt like pressure to work harder and harder all the time. It was part of one of the things that made me feel like I had to be endlessly strong because I felt like I didn't have enough money, which meant I had to show up for this stupid job and I couldn't act loud and quit like I wanted to. And it kept me in this cycle of pushing and pushing and pushing myself. But I was treading water because you know how when you tread water, you're doing all this movement, but you're never actually moving forward. But when I got a budget, every part of that changed. I went from feeling like I was treading water to finally like I was swimming, and not just swimming, but swimming fast and swimming across lakes and rivers and oceans. And listen, there was nothing that can keep me from swimming at that point. And that's the feeling that I want you to have as well. This budget is an amazing tool that has been underplayed. I can't wait. I have another video that's coming out, a collaboration with D, where we're going to talk about it even more. So, hey, if you're new here, I'm Rashida, your dream strategist. I am a life coach for Black women who are balancing their aspirations and goals with also trying to have a life of rest. We are those women who are the strong Black woman, but we're ready to quit being a strong Black woman because it's exhausting. We're over that. We're ready to create a soft life. And I'm all about helping us bring all of the different parts that are going to help us do that here on this channel. So that includes the fun stuff like traveling, eating good food, dancing, hobbies, and all of those things. But it also very much includes practical tips, coaching, community, resources that are all going to help you accomplish that as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'm glad you're here. Share it with another Black woman who could use this as well. All of y'all need to subscribe. And I'm so thankful for you guys being here. And then make sure you join us for the next step of the reset. Because as we reset, our self-care, we set ourselves up to have self-care all year round, and we don't have to wait for ourselves to get to be burnt out, whether it's by our money, our time, and our energy. Those are resources that when we overuse them, they burn us out. And this is a step that's going to help you fix that. All right. So get on my email list so that you can get the special pricing for the community on Saturday when I send that final email out to recap what we did from this week. And then make sure you join us for tomorrow for the next day of the 7-day self-care reset. Today was day 4, tomorrow is day 5, and you will find that here on this channel. So, thank you so much for joining day 4 of the 7-day self care reset. And I look forward to connecting again with you tomorrow.